Everyone, myself Vaibhav. Very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all. This is the start of US trading session where we are seeing sharp moves happening in the Nasdaq, but so far it has been able to hold above the 13,000 mark after a dip below that level. And I think this is the price level which we need to keenly watch. And depending on the breakout, we will see sharp moves happening from the direction of the breakout from these levels. So that's why the title of today's session of Market Movers is Nasdaq at Crossroads. So we will be looking into the technical details of this positioning, and we will also try to find out the ways with which we can profit from these possible moves in the Nasdaq. So we will take a look on that. Prior to that, we will also consider the data which we have got so far in the day. Earlier in the day, during the European trading hours, we got these PMI data, and these were flash releases, means preliminary estimate, and surprisingly, the numbers are fairly strong, pretty strong, you can say. Even some of the PMI readings are closer to the record highs, and this is happening as economic activity is now slowly, or you can say even strongly resuming in the European area on back of the vaccination drive, and as the COVID restrictions on economic activity are being taken out. So because of that, the resumption of economic activity has pushed this PMI number for the month of March pretty high. And if you consider the case of Germany, the manufacturing PMI in particular stands at 66.6 and a lot higher than the expectations of 60. Even for the European area as a whole, we have the reading above 60. But services are still reeling under the slowdown, and if we consider the euro area services PMI, it still remains in the contraction territory below 50. But for Germany, there is uptick, and after many months, it has now come back in the expansionary territory. But still, it is quite weak compared to the uptick which we are observing in the manufacturing sector. For the UK, both the manufacturing and the services PMI are on the higher side. So as a result of that, the composite PMI is at quite respectable level of 56.6. Now moving to the US data points, we got durable goods orders numbers for the month of February, and here is this dip happening in the month-on-month figures, and I think that is mainly on back of the decline, which was largely concentrated in the transportation sector, and that has pulled the whole of durable goods orders numbers lower. And if we discount that, there is a growth of around 0.9%. Moving on to the commodity front, we also got the EIS crude oil inventory data, and contrary to the expectations of a decline, for this week also, on back of this rise, the build-up in the inventories for last couple of weeks, this week also there is addition of 1.9 million barrels, and as a result of that, we are seeing price pressures in the light crude oil prices for more than a week now. The light crude oil as well as the Brent has been on the back foot on the concerns that this rise in inventories along with the still slack in the demand is not going to be helpful for the uptick which we have seen in the light crude oil prices for last couple of months, and as a result of that, some moderation has happened after the light crude oil had at one point in time gotten fairly close to the US $70 per barrel mark, but now it is trading around the sub 60 levels. So we will have to see how the things unfold from these levels. But today's session is not really dedicated to that, so we will not go into the technical details of the light crude oil. Maybe later on in this week, or as and when the situation looks good enough for optimum trading opportunities, we will also consider the technical outlook for the light crude oil. But in today's session, The instrument of choice are going to be the Nasdaq along with the Euro USD. So let's start with the Nasdaq's technical outlook first. This is the daily time frame chart, and as I had said in yesterday's session, the Nasdaq has been able to hold on to its recent gains, and it has been finding some support closer to the 13,000 mark. And for today's session, we have seen that it did find some support after getting closer to the yesterday's low, and for the time being it is holding on to the 13,000 mark. And if you consider this prior move, I think it is still in the consolidation phase, and a breakout on the either side is going to decide its price trajectory in the near term. So we will have to see what are the price levels which we need to keep in mind while going for the trading opportunities in Nasdaq. On the higher side, we do have this central pivot point around the 13,150 mark, and it has proven a difficult task for the Nasdaq to cross and hold above it. As you can observe from the chart, it has tried couple of times, but to no avail. All the time the selling pressure has pushed the Nasdaq lower, and even in today's session the same story unfolded. But the thing is that on the lower side the buyers are still not giving up, and after it got below 13,000 mark, the buyers also came back rushing in, and we are now again seeing the Nasdaq slowly climbing up, though it is now of the day's lows, but still far from the day's high. So we have to see how today's session will unfold, and the closing level for today's session are going to hold the key for the near-term trajectory for Nasdaq. If we see that the Nasdaq is able to hold above the 13,000 mark with not much of decline in today's session, given the overall positive sentiments prevalent in the equity segment, I feel that moving forward we are more likely to see a breakout on the higher side. But of course, in the market everything is uncertain, but some levels are of course certain, and depending can make your move. So for that, we will have to consider a breakout above this prior swing high as a necessary precondition for the execution of the buy trade. So I am not advising adapting a buy on dip strategy in Nasdaq. Rather than that, see how the price action evolves in today's session. If it consolidates and doesn't really break below this prior swing low, the crucial support area, and today's low is also going to be important. We have already seen a new swing low being formed in today's session, so it will be interesting to see if the Nasdaq is able to hold on to this buying momentum from the lower side or not. And if those gains evaporated, then I think we are more likely to see it retesting the swing lows of around 12,800 mark. But that's why it is more important to adapt the wait and watch approach here, and see how it closes the session. And depending on that, I think the key levels will be available for us in tomorrow's session to watch out for, and the breakout above or below these immediate swing lows will herald a new trajectory. The formation will be quite solid for the Nasdaq to move sharply, and we can, of course, look forward to benefiting from that. Now, moving on to the currency segment. Here, the currency of choice is euro against the USD, and as I had said quite a while back. No, I think last week it was probably when we had discussed the continuation of the bearishness in the Euro USD when it was above 1.19 level. Even at that point in time, I think I had said that there is a good chance of the Euro USD moving on the lower side, and eventually in course of time it might even go on to approach the 1.18 levels, and that's what we are observing unfolding for today's session as well as in last trading session. And even now, I think this is not really the time to look for the buying opportunities. But even after this decline, and the fact that Euro USD is now almost on the 4-month lows. Till we will be having more chances of profitable trade if we continue to look for the shorting opportunities, and for that we will have to mostly rely on lower time frame charting, where we have to keep in mind some key levels. So we have here the breakout below 1.190 level for the Euro USD after these consolidation of almost 3 weeks. So moving forward, I think the price area of 1.19 is going to be a crucial marker. So for Euro USD, anything below that should be a opportunity to go short. But the risk, of course, is going to be quite high if we go for the short sale trade around the current levels, and only because of that I think we will have to be a bit cautious here. And if we see some sort of retracement and any move, any pullback which takes it as close as possible to the 1.19, should be a welcome opportunity for us to look for the fresh trading opportunities, and we can go short. We can keep in mind that both these technical parameters, the regression curve as well as the pivot point series, are quite conducive for the initiation of the sell trade. So there is not much which we can uh, which can change our mind to act contrary. But if we have to stick in with the trend also, even in that case we do have to look for the optimum opportunity, as in the market there is nothing certain, and the only thing which we can use to keep the safety levels good enough is the stop loss. And for that we will have to, I think, keep in mind this immediate swing low around 1.188, and right now we are almost 50 pips away from that price point. And if we see some sort of retracement happening, maybe in today's session or maybe in tomorrow's session or whenever it happens, if we can get the entry point after due consolidation, after some retracement, which might take the Euro USD closer to this immediate swing low, the prior swing low, I think that will be an opportunity for us to think about the fresh trade initiation. If we see that Euro USD gets closer to the resistance, and it should consolidate there, not continue to rise. So we will have to observe how the price action reacts after getting closer to the resistance zone, and depending on that we will be in a position to look for the initiation of the trade on short sale side for a further retest of 1.18, or even the price levels below that. And I think the stop loss can be kept anywhere closer to this 200 SMA zone or little above that, and that should be good enough for the trade. The risk reward ratio will be in our favor, better than 1 is to 2. So we will have the risk also quite calculated, and the reward will be good enough to take that risk. So that's it from my side for today's session. If any of you have any query or any idea to share, you can write to me in the feedback section, and I would be more than happy to take the discussion forward. Before I sign off, I would also like to remind of the risk associated with trading in the financial instrument, and one should be careful while using the information provided. Have a fabulous day ahead. Thank you all for joining in. Do subscribe to the Decoscopy webinar channel to stay updated on the market developments. See you next time. Till then, goodbye.